Okay, good morning, folks. Thank you for being here this morning. This is House Human Services. What we are going to be looking at right now is a draft of the House Human Services budget adjustment memo to House Appropriations. And just as a reminder, I'm speaking with House Appropriations this afternoon to give them our feedback. This draft has been provided to Katie and Nolan. They have a couple of minor editorial comments, or just things that they're doing, and it's going through drafting right now. So even things that I do go through legislative drafting. Lori, can we get rid of that live streamed okay thing? Thank you. Okay, so you should have it in your email, and for people around the room, no, it is not posted, and it won't be posted until it is finalized, because I don't like to have several drafts of something out there floating around, and then people start to look at things and think, oh, that was the final one, and no, it wasn't. And so if people could take just a look at your emails and to pull that up, that would be wonderful. Okay, open in Word. Everybody have it? Okay. Essentially, I just laid out what process that we used in the first couple of paragraphs. And I also let them know that while we heard from a number of community partners, we focused only on those things that we truly considered to be FY26 adjustments, and that we are not making any recommendations related to community partners that either the General Assembly had already considered in its FY26 original budget and did not fund, nor any requests that were more aligned for consideration in the FY27 budget process. So you'll recall we heard from End Homelessness Vermont, we heard from 211, we heard from Vermont Legal Aid. Those were all things that we did not put in this memo as recommendations. So my aim for saying that up front to the Appropriations Committee is because I want them to know that, we heard from more people than we are actually recommending. And it's important, I think, to have folks understand that we did go through a prioritization process and understand where things are at. So we focused on two departments out of our three. Dale, Department of Disabilities, Aging and Independent Living. And it's an email from last night. Todd, okay?
Thank you.
I do just want to make people aware. We were just notified that the Green Mountain Nursing Facility is closing March, I think 15th. I don't remember if it was 15th or 31st, but that's in Colchester. They're licensed for 73 beds. But I don't know how many were occupied. We're trying to get that number. And they do have to develop transition plans for the residents there. If you look it up, you can see that it's a pretty old building. And I think that probably had a lot to do with it, along with staffing issues and the reliance on high cost travelers. Anyways, that's, sort of front and center in the issues that we talked about when we were talking with Dale about this. So I just wanted to make people aware of that, because that will probably be hitting the news today. You can see the format that I used. I looked at the governor's recommendation, and then I did community partners request, and then just did it by line item that's in the budget. So I don't need to read it to you. I guess what I'm interested in is if you have, this is the time to say whether you have, if you feel like I represented what the committee discussion was, I did my best to try to do that. If it doesn't feel that way to you, then now's the time to say something. Yeah, go ahead.
Number 5, reach up, the deduction.
Oh, can we wait till let's just kind of go from the top down?
Oh, okay, mine's on number 5.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
we'll get to that.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with Dale. So,
Jumping right in.
spent a lot of time in the Dale meeting, talking about nursing facilities and, the cost. So, I tried to capture that. And then in the end, however, we said, given the circumstances at this point, we acknowledge the need to make these payments. I was trying to come up with language that didn't actually say we recommended it. Because that didn't feel totally representative of the way we were feeling.
That strikes the right balance.
So take a moment. I realize this didn't come out until late last night, so you might not have had a chance to read through it. So take that moment right now to do so.
Chair,
Yes,
I see numbers here. Are all these numbers increases?
Yes.
Is it a notation what is an increase?
unless they have a parentheses around them, these are adjustments that the administration is requesting. So they are increases in the Dale budget, for instance, in these areas. In the overall state budget, there are other decreases offsetting these. So when the governor presents his budget adjustment, you have to look at all the other departments and agencies to see where the bottom line is. And off the top of my head, I don't know where the bottom line is, but to Dale, in this program for nursing facilities, that is an increase.
Thank you.
You will see some things that have parentheses around them, and that is a recommended decrease by the governor's office.
Could you repeat that?
Um,
Just that last part.
okay, if it does not have parentheses around the number, that is a recommended increase. If it's listed under the governor's recommendation that the governor is recommending. If it has parentheses around the number, it's a recommended decrease by the administration.
Thank you.
And when you see 14.5 million and you see behind that in parentheses GC, that's global commitment.
Mhm.
That's Medicaid in Vermont. And I
Yes.
mention that because all of these recommendations are not all Medicaid, particularly when we get to DCF.
And for those global commitment Medicaid obligations, that is a split of federal and state dollars, with state dollars being approximately
45, 48%, something like that, yeah.
and the rest, if you will, the balance, the 55% is as much an authorization as anything else, or is just kind
Well,
of.
we have to live within the cap we have in global commitment. So yes, it's federal funds, but it's not unlimited.
I think, the point you're making, that I understand, is that we're authorizing through this for them to spend those federal dollars in this way.
Yes,
Or we're recommending, we're not authorizing.
We're not authorizing
anything.
Should we put something in there when we agree? When we agree?
so let's just take choices for care, for instance, this one. Do people have any comments about number 1 under Dale?
No, I was just talking about the wording, like,
I understand.
okay,
Do you have a comment here in number 1?
I do not.
Okay, so when we get to the one where you think
No, I
we
just,
agree.
I thought for the people on appropriations to say, this is not a change from what was in the governor's recommend.
Oh,
think
oh,
that's
Just to make it
oh,
clarify.
yeah,
Clarify that, so when our colleagues are reading this, they're like, okay, that's governor recommend, they stayed with that
so
recommend.
maybe we should put that up in the top part to say any items not specifically
Correct.
identified the committee agrees with. Is that kind of what you're thinking about?
Yeah, I just thought it might be easier
that okay?
for someone on appropriate, have that part of the budget to read and say, oh, they're just agreeing. The governor's recommend on this particular.
With
line.
things that are not pulled out in this memo, for everything else in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That is good.
So I just added any item not specifically detailed below. The committee recommends agreement with the governor's recommendations. Okay, right. Okay. Okay, choices for care. The second choices for care item is $2.5 million. You'll recall the department's CFO indicated that when they first put this in, they thought it was going to be for home and community-based services. And now, because they thought that the utilization increase was needed there, and now they said it would be for a mixture of home and community-based and additional nursing facility. So given that we just approved 14.5 million global commitment and 9.6 million, which we'll see in number 3. I don't know if this recommendation that I wrote here is actually what the whole committee said, but I was trying to pull out from what people were saying. So the 2.5 million, we are recommending, I am proposing that we recommend that be approved for home and community-based services only.
Which is a change.
That's what they have it in there for. But
But
they
in their
said in
testimony-
testimony, we might have to use some of that for nursing homes. I don't know how this Green Mountain Care nursing home is going to impact all of that.
Mhm.
I don't know if they have been a recent recipient of EFR, for instance. I don't know if we've gotten that report yet. Have we gotten that report yet from Dale?
Would it strengthen it? Sorry. Would
Yeah,
it strengthen it if we just said the committee recommends that this be approved as originally budgeted?
oh, good too. How about only as originally?
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then choices for care number 3, the 9.6 million. So this is represented as an increase, but it is not really an increase. You recall there were 3 or 4 nursing homes that had delays in payments
Mhm.
for FY25 in the choices for care closeout. The CFO said we've identified the carry forward funds. These are carry forward funds already been appropriated. So this is essentially an accounting thing, and we call it spending authority. They need the authority to go ahead and spend something. That's all that is. Okay, and then under community partners request. Yeah,
I just want to go back to number 2.
of course.
So when we put in there that it's community-based services only, which I support, I'm just wondering how that's going to impact with this disclosure. What are we? Sorry, I'm just reading this, so I'm just
That's okay.
Let me formulate my thoughts.
Yeah, it's all right.
if we're going to have to find new places for these individuals who are involved, do we need to really think about making sure that the department has the ability to provide wherever they're going with the resources they need to be able to house basically people who are in needing
Yeah.
skilled nursing home care?
I think that's a great question. And so I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Because this is just,
There's
essentially,
yeah,
this is news that's coming like right now.
now.
I don't know how many of the folks at the Green Mountain Care nursing home are Medicaid,
Yeah,
how many are private pay, how many might be long-term care insurance,
And-
how many are rehab. I
Sure.
don't know the breakout. So, but we also
or
know
if there's
that,
even res care there.
I don't think so.
Okay.
And but we also know that there are 250 plus vacancies in nursing facilities across
Yeah.
the state. It'll be, one of the things that's required when a facility closes is that they have to have transition plans for every single person.
Correct.
So, I believe that the department already has the flexibility to work with other nursing homes, with maybe some people will be able to go home. If they have a family member or other person who can step up to provide care. Other people will probably be transferred to other nursing homes.
But if a bed is vacant because of staffing or
There's only 23 beds that are vacant because of staffing.
correct. But what I'm saying is, if the person needs a higher level of care than the facility is able to offer, what does that, we know there's open beds, but if they're only able to offer a lower level of care, I just want to talk it through.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we're saying, I mean, I guess we're saying, okay, we've got to find beds for these individuals. What are the needs of the skilled nursing facility that's going to be receiving them? Do they have not the open bed, that would be a capacity, but the level of care
Scope
needed,
of practice.
the scope to be able to provide the care to that individual?
If
I don't know.
if they're licensed as a skilled nursing facility, the
They can
answer
take
is
everybody.
yes.
I mean, that is the highest level of care,
Care,
right? So they should, and for me, like, I
Could be
think,
dialysis. Who knows? I don't know.
No, not, you need specialized equipment
Right.
and services. That's not this place.
Okay.
Take a look at the place.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, I just.
I know, I
I'm concerned
appreciate you
about that
thinking about
and-
it.
And wanted to have a little more discussion about it.
I appreciate that. And the truth of the matter is that this is late breaking news, literally, first thing
that's
this
not even in
morning.
the news yet.
Yeah, this is not in the news yet, no. So, and like I said, we don't know how many people are actually there. I don't know, I haven't had an opportunity to go on the Division of Licensing and Protection website to see what's their status, I don't know what their, quality status is. People could be moving to a better situation.
Yeah.
But again, the
And
fact that they're gonna have to move is gonna be
Correct.
upsetting for people.
and none of them are able to tell us, right? That's our job here, is to make sure that if possible, we are able to provide their care, because they are not able to come in and
So
talk about their
Dale's job. I
Right,
mean,
but-
Dale is
right.
ultimately.
Dale is ultimately
Right,
responsible.
responsible. So
Sure.
for us, I think right now, there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
And I think Dale probably has a lot more information.
That's what I'm worried about.
About this.
Just to be
Yeah.
clear.
So, yeah, I have a sort of background question to this. As it's stated and as we heard the testimony, this is a line item for the home and community-based care already. And they said it might be utilized for additional nursing facility payments. How would they be able now to use it for additional nursing facility payments if it's budgeted for home and community-based?
Right.
Because
Because-
we're trying to communicate, we don't want you to do what you testified you might do. That's the recommendation. We only want you to use it what it's budgeted for. But they weren't asking for a language change saying we can use it more flexibly, but they sort of testified to that. So I'm
Yes.
trying to
Good point.
understand, can they switch money between line items like that? Or is it actually already restricted to what it's budgeted for and disregarding the testimony of what they'd like to do?
Really good question, Ann. And for historical purposes, this is one of the things that I asked Dan to look into in terms of whether we need to change it. But right now, skilled nursing facility, ERC,
Mhm.
adult day, personal care services, all under one line item
Right.
called
Oh,
Global
okay.
Commitment Choices for Care.
Yeah.
So,
Oop.
so, I have proposed, last year, I had some discussions with the department about, is it time for us to be thinking? I understand, because I was around, I launched the program at Dale. I understand the rationale for budgeting this all as one, but the program is now coming up on 30 years old. And I think that most people would say that we have achieved all of the savings from the taking offline of nursing facility services that we're going to do. We have fewer nursing facility beds than we did 30 years ago. That was on purpose. It was to right the balance and to promote home and community-based care. So it was all done as one line item budget, and that's the way it appears in the budget. And I believe that we should have some serious discussions about whether we should be budgeting separately for nursing facility services and separately for home and community services. That's going to be a topic for another time, but right now it's all in one line item, so they don't really need language to move it around.
So is, how would we be able to, if we're not proposing a change in language, when we say we recommend it be approved for home and community-based services only, if it's in the same budget, do we have the ability to say, well, that sub pool of money can only be used for XYZ that's not distinguished in budget lines?
We can ask Katie when she comes, but she might say that maybe language would be necessary in order to effectuate a recommendation like that.
Yeah,
Like,
so not to be, a pest here, but that makes me think that if it's language to change policy, that, I mean, we're trying to do something that I think probably there may be a general sense of the committee that we do want to move in that direction, but it may be part of a bigger policy discussion to actually change the budget line rather than trying to do it in BAA. If it, requires a change in language, statutory language, that really does get into a policy change at a stage that maybe it's not the right stage.
And so I think with the added language that Zahn suggested, that I think that what we do is we put it back on what the department originally presented. They presented it as home and community-based services. And so I think that sort of threads the needle from my perspective as making our opinions known about it. Enforcement's a whole different ball of wax. And I agree with you that making that big of a shift, it would require additional discussion, and we would have to amend the statute. So that's something I've asked Dan to work with Dave Iacoboni on and think about, should we be having discussions with the department and with the industry to think about how we're budgeting for this in state government now that we've probably reached as far as we're going to go in terms of, shifting the balance in terms of nursing facility beds.
Yeah, I keep referring, of course, to the language in front and recalling what Zahn said verbally. I think you've made the point well that language really does it in the way that's the right way to approach it at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not good like Katie. I can't put it up on the screen and edit it as we go. So
and that's what I didn't do either. I didn't write it down, but I agree that was good language to address what I'm raising for discussion.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you for taking the time to.
Of course, anytime to anyone.
Understand it and have that, because it's like,
and
thank you.
And we'll be asking the department next week when they're here on budget testimony about what's happening, right? Before then, actually, we have a request out to Rebecca. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And so we're on to community partners requests now. So this is still in Dale and in Choices for Care. The area agencies on aging provide their required case management services for Choices for Care recipients. And And due to a technical oversight, those services were not included in the calculation of the 2% COLA calculation. Oh, I used calculation twice. I'll edit that, but the 2% COLA that the General Assembly approved for FY26. All the other Medicaid providers in long-term care services received that. And so the committee recommended approval for FY26 retroactive to July 1, which is when it should have been made. However, we have heard from Nolan that the department finds it difficult to make retroactive payments. They actually says it's not possible, but we know from other things that actually is possible, but it is difficult. So if it cannot be made retroactive, we recommend that the general fund share be paid to providers or some combination of global commitment and general fund. They said that the earliest they could make a change like this would be April 1st. So the last quarter of this fiscal year could be a full Medicaid, and then the general fund share for the first 9 months of the year. I know it sounds a little complicated, but the appropriations people will understand it, hopefully. Most of them. Same thing in the choices for care under the ERC, Enhanced Residential Care. We are recommending, or the request was for $1,071,550 in global commitment. Again, the General Assembly funded the Medicaid rate study that was completed in FY23. This occurred over 2 fiscal years and was finalized in FY26. And then this past summer, JFO and House Human Services were notified that result in a 35% decreased rate for certain residential care providers. It was not the intent of the General Assembly to reduce rates for these services. So we are recommending that they be restored to the FY25 levels.
There's a typo on the retroactive date. July 1st, it says 29/25.
Oh, that's good.
That's a tough retroactive. But a question about that. So when
Oh, yeah, I see it.
when it says notified that this would be so following the rate study resulted in the decrease?
Yes.
35%?
That they were not transparent with us about. They just presented consolidated numbers, if you will.
Yeah.
And to be fair, JFO, when talking with the administration about it, we learned lessons that we need to dig a little deeper, and they learned lessons that they need to be more transparent. So again, we're recommending that these funds be retroactive to July 1 of 2025, not 29-25. And if it cannot be all GC, then a split between GC and general fund. Okay, any questions about that? And then developmental disabilities, developmental services payment reform does not require any money. But we heard significant concerns regarding the impacts of payment and other reforms on people receiving services, families, and designated and specialized service agencies. And then I didn't copy the language because you all already received it, but the language that Katie put together for us would be attached here.
Is there a spot we can go back and look at it? Because I'm sure when I see it, I'll remember having seen it, but right now.
I will ask Lori to send it out to people.
Oh,
Thanks.
Again. It's from Katie and it says FY26 BAA language. And it was last week.
Right.
Thank you.
I probably looked at it and said, oh, this is what was recommended in the BAA for language by the administration.
It was not.
It was not right.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah. The information, just to refresh people's memories, we requested this kind of language, last year in the FY 26 budget. It was negotiated out. And unfortunately, the things that we in this committee knew would happen are happening. And so, we've enabled this to take place over the last 7 months, and we need to do something about it. Yeah, just go send it to everyone. Yeah, thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to DCF. Family Services, because it was a large amount, I put it in here because I felt we should comment on, we didn't comment on everything we agreed
Yeah, I was
with, but
wondering what
I know, well, if you think I should take it out, I can take it out.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
I'm just highlighting things that are bigger dollar amounts,
Yeah.
I guess. So this was, they still really haven't nailed down what a transportation system is going to be for children and youth who need to be transported for visitations, for court appearances, for all of this kind of stuff. And it includes payments to sheriffs and other providers. And I have to say, it is on top of a substantial increase last year that Ann
Right.
pointed out.
Right, we put in a lot and they're saying it's still not enough. I just briefly an update, because I didn't send it to the whole committee, but in the report, I think it was in 7 days about the glitches with the computer system, there was a reference to, because of the computer system's overall weaknesses, they were not able to provide the report that we requested last year on restraint in transportation. And I just thought it was interesting because they have never presented to us that they can't do it, or they can't do it because of that. So I'm not sure how that turned up in 7 days, but they are still working on it. They've reported to us.
And just as an FYI, we're going to be having a joint hearing with House Energy and Technology next Friday on this very issue.
Great.
Yeah, Todd.
How many children are they transporting? How many times are they transporting in general?
Yeah,
$1
it's a good question. I
million
don't know. I don't know if Brenda or Ann know.
Yes, I can forward
Yeah.
forward that. Last week when we had asked for that added information, I was sent a whole breakout of the number of kids and so forth. And that was not what we had been asking for at that moment. We were asking about the secure transports. So I let the department know that's not what we were looking for, but that is the question you're asking now. And the report they sent, I think, does answer that. So I can forward that right now to the committee for anybody who wants to look at that, because it breaks out the overall transportation numbers.
I'd like to see that first before I vote on it.
Yep, I will. I'm going to find it in my inbox here and forward it right now.
Okay, send it to the whole committee and that'd be
Yep.
good.
Yep,
Yeah.
will do.
We're just in committee discussion. You don't need to raise your hand.
Oh, okay.
I'll take it back at you.
So I'm a little confused on this one, because because I used to be involved with the school. I was under the understanding the school paid for the many children that have to take taxis to school, and then they get special taxis they have behavior issues and they have to go to meetings and with their person throughout the day. Let's just say throughout this, I thought that was in the school's budget. So do they get the money from this?
This is not for education related transportation.
So this is,
like,
okay, I thought it was the whole.
so a child, if there is a CHINS case, and for some reason the child is, older youth sometimes are part of those court proceedings. They need to be transported from their, current placement to a courthouse. Or if there is, we have youth who are involved with law enforcement, they've made a few wrong decisions and they have
It's hard to-
particular supervision requirements that those folks might be transported by a sheriff's department. Or it could be for visitation with a non-custodial parent. There's lots of
Several.
reasons, but it's not
So
education
this isn't
related.
the children in foster care?
Yes, these are in the Family Services Division, which is child welfare, yeah.
So I'll
So
just.
they don't pay, so the school pays out of their
School
budget.
pays for school transportation and, other transportation.
Yeah, I thought it was
is
all the
required.
same.
No, not all the same.
So like, I knew a grandparent that got a grandson. Raised a grandson. So the transportation, the grandson got to go to daycare, that would be out of this. I'm just trying to separate it.
I can't tell you all the individual things, that occurs, because, there are individual agreements made for each child about what's covered, what's not covered, who pays, and all of that kind of stuff. It's different for, family care providers sometimes than it is for foster care providers. And so, to know all the details of that, I would encourage you to reach out to the, Family Services Division.
So,
Okay.
and I
Oh.
think a lot of the questions you're asking is in the one-page
Oh,
piece that I just
okay.
sent you, which breaks out the type of providers who are being reimbursed and what the amount spent for that type of, and the explanation of what that transportation it is. It's all for children who are in custody. And it explains the breakout of the types of transportation and who's paid for it.
And so where do I
I just emailed it. You should have it in your inbox right
Email.
now.
email?
I
Yes.
haven't.
Email
Got it right here.
from Anne.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. All right.
There is one thing, just if you don't mind, Chair.
Yes.
One thing on this, in this email, at the very bottom, the last sentence of maybe the second paragraph, for sure. Yeah, it says, so federal dollars, the only time that federal dollars will not be used for transportation is when it involves a sheriff. So I think that kind of narrows, I'm not saying that this should change any of our decisions here, but just to be clear, it seems like the things we might be assuming are, these dollars are being used for more generally, like transportation to therapy or transportation to some sort of appointment of sorts. Those are being paid for by Fed dollars, not this dollar amount. that
No,
we're
not this.
accounting for. Yeah, so this is very specifically.
Well, that's definitely something the budget team is going to ask more questions about, and we'll see if we need additional clarification during the FY27 budget process, since this seems to be continuing to ramp up,
Yeah,
even as the number of children in custody actually is going down.
yes,
So that's an interesting crossover.
yes. So ramping up means specifically sheriff-related transportation issues are ramping up, like you said, and even though the decrease in custody is happening.
This is awesome, this chart.
The information.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize for not having shared that because it wasn't answering the question we had raised that day. I just put it aside, but it does have information that for broader budget reasons is obviously of value for everyone. So
That's good.
apologize again, not forwarding it at that time.
That's okay. That's good, Ann.
So the million they're asking for now is on top of the 8 million that they received last year, if I'm reading this right?
I have not had time to review that
Me
whole
neither,
thing,
so-
so I don't know if that's saying what they estimate their annual cost to be, or if that's a report of what they spent last year.
That
Okay.
says on it, it's
Oh.
what they've already spent and they need 1 million more. Yes.
This is
Okay.
it, okay, so they need 1 million.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann. Yep, she answered you guys, okay.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
not really optional, as they
Yeah.
point out federally, that they have to get the kids to where they need to be going if they're in the custody of DCF. So we might want to dig deeper with them later about less expensive means or something like that. But it's not an optional service for them to pay for.
Okay, so let's move to the next one, which is also in family services. And this was, people were asking if they're all increases. So, Todd, you see the parentheses around 1,073,421?
Let me get back there.
Okay,
I'll be a few moments.
that's okay. Well, when you get there, just let me know.
Okay.
So, that's a decrease in substitute care, which is foster care. And 719,561 is an increase in subsidized adoption. So they essentially are having more costs in subsidized adoption, meaning hopefully more kids are being adopted, and fewer caseload in substitute care. Although I do recall from their spreadsheet that the out-of-state residential is higher. All the rest of the components were less, but out-of-state residential is higher. But the overall in that area is down by a little over $1 million. You see where I'm talking about, Todd?
Yeah, sure do.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And so we could actually make this a little bit shorter. I'm not sure that we actually need that one in there. Would you does the committee, what's the committee's preference? Do you want to keep it in or you want to take it out? It's not really saying anything.
Yeah, I think
Take it
it's
out.
not necessary.
Yeah.
I would also argue the first one is not really necessary, but
I think it is just because we've had continued discussions with them about transportation. I want to
Okay.
keep it sort of at the forefront. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so I just deleted number 2. You can't see that. I just deleted number 2. All right.
So number one, we didn't agree on number one yet, right?
Our committee had already accepted that as necessary because they have to provide transportation.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is the aid to, I'm just gonna say AABD. I hate the way they phrase that. Not they, it's just the way it is. It's got a lot of history. Anyways, this was various changes. We're not saying anything in particular about the dollar amounts, but this again was brought up as we have at least the last 2 years, that we are looking for the department to be more transparent that these funds are available to assist individuals in terms of making that known to caseworkers, to people serving the homeless, to family support workers, across the department. So they indicated they'll work on that again. Again, I'm not sure if that's something that is really more for us or if that really needs to be in there for appropriations. What's the committee's pleasure on that?
My guess is they have enough lines and things on their plate that they probably won't look all that carefully at that. That it's probably more something for us going forward.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So
I think
recommend
it's an
deleting it
important
out of the memo?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
yes.
Yeah, it's more a statement about us than it is about
Yeah.
them, so.
Then, right, to communicate to them, it's probably not helpful.
Okay, is that okay with people? Am I hearing, okay, I'm not seeing anybody say no. All
Okay.
right. Okay, so we just eliminated 2
Memo's getting
things.
shorter.
So general assistance. The administration did not present any adjustments for the emergency housing assistance portion of the GA appropriation. However, looking at the DCF monthly reporting that they send to our committee every month, we requested an update on spending in this area. We were notified that the department expected at least a $5.5 million underspend in this area. I will tell you that based upon my calculations, I think it'll be closer to $8 million. I'm just putting that out there. And the department also indicated, and this comes into your question before, that it's the department's intent to utilize the funds for shelter services. And I'm just going to remind you that they are already requesting another $2 million in shelter services above what we gave them in the budget. Okay, so this is where Ann's comment about you can't just willy-nilly decide where you're going to spend it. The general assistance is a separate line item, separate appropriation in the budget. Shelter services fall under the Office of Economic Opportunity and the HOP program, separate line item in the budget. You can't just switch without legislative authority to do so.
And isn't this the second year? And I think last year it was 8 million as well, that this has kind of happened with GEA. Or almost happened. I think it was, yeah.
Yes, yes. And as we know that there are a number of people who are unhoused, and we hear from the emergency weather shelters that they can't open up until -10 because there's insufficient funds. Not true.
Yeah, I would just join in and express my own frustration with the department's belief that we're just giving them fungible dollars to use as they like. It
Right.
seemed to be setting policy where we spent months last year trying to set policy on how to address homelessness in Vermont. And that's the proper place, not shifting budget lines.
Yes,
And people are dying. People
we have
are
been.
dying
yeah.
in these not emergency weather conditions when it's -8 or 12 degrees or, so people are dying while we have money to get them into shelter.
I have seen the obituaries. So this is extremely troubling. They could have released some of this money to the Vermont Interfaith Action for additional support. They could have, there's many things. It's not because that there is not a need for emergency shelter. Again, I will be bringing this up with the Committee in Appropriations because, and we're being specific in our recommendation that it is not, the administration cannot just decide where it wants to spend money. It's appropriated by the legislature. So they need to seek authorization. And I'm frankly dismayed that they were not transparent about it. They were not transparent that they were not spending the money.
I agree.
Had we not asked about it, would have flown under the radar. Okay, I feel like I was hearing general consensus on that around the table. Okay.
Is he strong enough? Is my question.
You can believe that it will be strong enough this afternoon.
Okay, yeah, sure. Are you prepared? Does this support you? That's what I guess I'm saying, yes, yeah.
Have faith.
Yeah, right, yeah, I certainly do.
Okay, reach up. Okay.
That's my question.
That's the one you had. It's
I
it's
didn't-
number 3
I didn't
now.
remember it the same way. I remember a couple representatives bringing up to keep the money in there, but I thought we voted as a majority that it wasn't the committee's preference. If I remember right, we'd have to look at the line stream, but if I remember right, there were 2 or 3 that voted to keep it in there and the rest of us said no.
So here's how I recall the conversation.
Okay.
So I recall the conversation about, yes, that there was, we had members bring up that, we're at, roughly a 50%, what's called rateable reduction. Year over year, they keep decreasing this based upon, actual caseload. And so that we had all that discussion.
Mhm.
That's
I
why,
remember that.
at the end of that sentence, I say the committee recommends accepting this adjustment. So at the end, we said, yes, but we can't deal with this in the FY26 budget. So correct. We said, we're not going to deal with that rateable reduction in the 26 budget adjustment because it's not an adjustment, it's a change in policy. So we recommend accepting the adjustment.
Correct, but the top where it says the committee's preference is to retain these funds. It wasn't the whole committee's preference. We voted as a committee
Right.
not to.
Okay, we can take another vote because I think that it was the opposite of that, actually.
And I thought it was the committee decided to keep the money out of there for affordability to the taxpayer, and the professionals that make these decisions came back with this reduction.
And we are agreeing with the reduction.
Right, but it doesn't say that. It says committee's
No.
preference is to retain
Well,
these
It goes
funds.
on to say that
No, I saw that.
It-
but
yeah, it
the
could-
beginning Makes it sound like
We recognize this.
We
So what about
recognize it. but
many
yet
many committee members would prefer to retain these funds
our-
in Reach Up. However, you know, the committee recommends accepting it because it's not an FY 26 policy decision.
So just to clear things up, to make sure that everybody is understanding and not having, any issues with this. So could I just see by a show of hands, those committee members who have a preference to retain these funds? I want you to understand, we're not doing that in the FY 26 budget adjustment. Okay, the committee is recommending accepting the adjustment down. Everybody understand
So
that?
that's what the vote was.
That's what we're saying right here.
I don't read it that way.
Okay, well, that's why I'm gonna have by a show of hands. There's two separate issues being discussed here. The first is our ongoing issue around affordability for families. And we by state policy right now say, this is how much it takes to provide some semblance of assistance to I'm talking about very low income families. This is how much it takes. And then we say, but we're only going to give you half of that. That's what the state's current policy is. And so in this committee, we've had several discussions over the years about being able to adjust what is called the rateable reduction. That's that 50% that the state cuts off, even though they say, this is the amount we should be giving you, but we're going to cut it in half.
Can I just add one little addendum to that? I'm sorry, but they say that they cut it in half because of budgetary constraints.
Exactly.
So just want to make that
So,
clear.
right, and so that's why.
Wait, Ann, I want to finish
Sorry.
I want to finish so that people understand, everybody understands, and maybe we can maybe it needs to be two separate sentences. I don't know. That might be helpful. That there's two issues we're dealing with. We're dealing with that we continually hear that there's insufficient funds to make any change in the rateable reduction. Year after year, the department is budgeting and gives back this, it's 2 million this year. I don't remember what it was last year, 2 or 3 years. We're getting some history on that. Okay. So the reality is that there are sufficient funds budgeted to make some adjustment in that rateable reduction. The administration is choosing not to do that. And so we say that we are not going to address this in FY 26 budget adjustment, but that the committee would prefer that that issue be addressed by the administration. And however, at this point in time, we are recommending going with their adjustment. So now, before anybody else talks, I am going to ask people to raise their hand if you agree with the statement that the committee's preference is to retain these funds in Reach Up to minimize the rateable reduction. However, wait a minute, I'm just getting to the point. However, recognizing that this is unlikely to occur in FY 26. Okay? How many people agree with the preference to retain funds in Reach Up? All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many people do not prefer to retain funds in Reach Up? 1, 2, and I don't, this isn't a vote, it's a straw poll, Ann. So
Right, as a straw poll, I think you're allowed to abstain because I think the wording is too strong for me about, retain these funds as opposed to, relook at the policy. Because there is a scope of the budget, some of this money is being put into other things that we've voted and said we think are important. So there's all these traits. So it's just too strong language, although philosophically I agree with the preference to, address the rateable reduction. So I'm abstaining.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to clear up that the majority of the committee supports that language.
Yeah.
And then again, pointing out the committee recommends accepting this adjustment adjustment in FY '26. So there will be a reduction in this area of $2.2 million. Is everybody clear about that?
Yeah, are we allowed to privately send notes to appropriations too with our opinion?
You can, I can't
Are we
tell you
allowed
what to
to?
do. I will be representing the committee's consensus
But
on
we
this.
can do individual.
You can do whatever you would like to do.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I just want to be clear that that was a committee straw poll, and the majority of the committee supported that. And that's how, if people are talking to other people, they should be clear about that. Okay, OEO. So this is the part where they were doing, it's a net neutral adjustment. So they're adding 269,000 to personal services. They're reducing 269,000 from grants. It's a net neutral change. It represents funding 2 limited service positions that are being transferred from grants to personal services to manage expanded shelter services. We had concerns here because they took that directly out of the money that is supposed to go to providers, it's supposed to go out into the community. And they directed it to increase staff. Well, you can read the language. Committee recognized these positions may be necessary. However, it would be appropriate to request that they be funded on their own merits. And if they are intended to be permanent positions, authorization from the legislature is required.
Yep.
Any comments about that? Questions?
I guess whether the appropriation committee, we have the language, but I'm not sure there's enough clarity on whether we are agreeing with ultimately if we're ultimately agreeing with the request in the governor's BAA.
Well, again, and maybe I need to make that statement here. Again, this money was budgeted and appropriated in the grants line item in OEO I have to double check if it was in OEO or if it was in GA. To be honest with you, can't remember. But it was transferred from grants to personal services. Again, that's a change in line item budget. So again, but they are requesting it here. I guess that's I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's similar to what we said way in the beginning with the nursing homes. We did say we accepted the change, and I think maybe Doug is sort of saying it doesn't make clear in the bolded piece if we are actually saying but they may be necessary, so we're not objecting, or are we agreeing or not agreeing?
Yeah, and I think
with,
that's
with our
probably
caveats or not.
right. I think that is a good catch, and I think it's probably because I wasn't clear about what people agreed to or not agreed to. I know I had my own personal opinions about it, but I didn't write down, at least in my notes, whether we agreed to it or not. I remember us raising questions about it.
I guess I wonder, is this one that we can agree or disagree with? It's a horse out of the barn. Is this kind of like the transportation one where the money, in that case, the money had to be spent. In this case, the money has been shifted. Is it too late to actually do anything about it? And
Well, it doesn't actually get shifted until the BAA is signed. Whether in fact those 2 staff are on board and working, I don't have the answer to that question. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I didn't get a great enough understanding of why this was necessary from the testimony that we received. It felt very like a lot of language, but I really didn't see the concrete impact of why it should be transferred away from grants or wherever else it was, and how those 2 limited service positions would affect in real life, the people at those shelters. I know it was for compliance purposes, but I don't know if the grants could have been used for that as well.
I mean, I think to be fair, when I think Lily spoke to this, it wasn't just about grants management. You
Yeah.
know, that's how, the CFO sort of presented
Yeah.
it. But it was about, technical assistance, it was about site visits, it's about, adhering to, the shelter standards and, sort of the work with, new and expanding shelters. So I just wanted to be clear with the
Yeah.
committee that it wasn't just about like, it's not just sitting, passing papers back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think when we raised that, they actually talked about, yes, some of this it is going out. It's on the street, it's doing that direct work. I think this kind of ties in because it's all about expanded shelter services. It ties into some of the other requests to expand funding, to expand, to be able to do more shelter services. And so to me, it really ties into some of the other discussions about, well, they probably should not have made changes without asking, but they're also asking for the next one, the $2 million for shelter capacity being requested. And, to me, the urgency of having a shelter, a warm place, even if it's not with the kind of supports we'd like to see, when we get to those freezing temperatures, that's like the most critical thing government should be doing. So, I'm in support of the changes. But when it came to number 7, I know that was a majority vote already to modify that request, and I was a minority vote on that. But I do think it's part of that whole picture of where they want to shift money to get core shelter open.
Just a second, Jubilee, was going to speak.
Yeah, no, I like how it's written here. And I actually, support these roles, but it feels like there's a little bit of lack of the common theme, lack of transparency about what the plan is. And so, I'm just, but they're really important roles that with this shelter expansion are needed. So yeah,
So let me just throw out an option for language. So we could say that, like we say, if they may be necessary, we may say an option for us to say is that we'd recommend that this be covered in the FY27 budget.
Yeah. To me, my view is if we reject this request, we are not defunding the positions.
No.
We're having it stay within the grants line and not moved. And as you say, it is, we view it as an appropriate discussion for ongoing funding for these positions.
I like that.
Yeah, I'd absolutely second that perspective, especially because, yes, this is the same amount of net money. So when we're talking about expanded shelter capacity and bandwidth, like it's important. And then that's why I think it belongs in the, PA, but it's not exactly the question here. And then it's in addition, having that these are limited service positions that we are going to need to deal with down the line. I don't think that makes sense for us to move this. I also feel a little bit more comfortable keeping it in grants because it does feel a little bit more direct in terms of like the oversight and compliance. Like we don't need someone to transfer from a state office to the, where the work is happening. Like we know that the people on the ground in those, not to say that OEO doesn't do a great job, but we know that that oversight and compliance is going to be happening on site because it's coming from the grants piece.
So this is how I've kept in the first part of it. So the committee recognizes that these positions may be necessary. However, it would be appropriate to request that they be funded on their own merits. Additionally, if they are intended to be permanent positions, authorization from the legislature is required. This is the part that I'm adding. The committee recommends that this issue be addressed in the FY27 budget and that for FY26, the funds be retained in the grants line item. Is that what I was hearing from the majority of people? Yeah, I'm seeing head nods. Okay, I'm gonna move us along because you're supposed to be doing something else right now. We only have Katie for X amount of time. So OEL, this is
And
part of
that's a
the,
zero budget increase overall,
Yeah.
just for
Yeah.
clarity
Yeah.
for everyone.
yes, there's no increase there.
Right.
OEO is $2 million. We had a lot of discussion about this. There's 14 impacted community-based providers. Again, this is about transparency. You know, nobody was given any indication that there was going to be a $1.3 million cut in community services. So we said, and this ties into under community partners request, we had a majority, and as Ann said, she was in the minority on this, but the committee recommends modifying this adjustment to $677,859. And if you add that amount, and then you look under community partners request, $1,322,141, that totals up to the $2 million. So we're taking the community partners request from the department's request. Bless you. That's
A budget neutral, piece. And
it's not budget neutral. It's an increase of $2 million. We're just, we are disagreeing with how it will be allocated.
Right.
oh, right, it's neutral to the governor's recommend.
Yes, it's
As
neutral
opposed-
to the
yeah.
governor's it's not recommending
Right.
more than the governor recommended. It's just spending it
Changing.
differently. Yes. Okay, and then secure residential treatment. You know, the main point here, at the current time, we're recommending accepting the adjustment, but we really need to dig deeper into what this total budget for secure residential and, you know, emergency services are, because as they pointed out themselves at DCF, they're running short on money in one-time carry forwards. So I think everybody agreed, sort of reluctantly, given the high cost of these services for a relatively small number of youth.
It goes back to transparency because we, when, boy, I'm sorry, my brain dead. When my team that did DCF, when we went over those numbers, it was clear to us that the numbers were not transparent in terms of the actual costs that were going to be coming down the line. And there was actually a comment to us that, well, that's something we can do in budget adjustment. Well, no, when we know it's going to cost that much, we should not wait for budget adjustment to budget it. And it made it more difficult to see what the actual costs of the direction of those needs. So, yeah, I think we're stuck with
Agree.
it right now, but it is frustrating.
More to come. Okay, so the community partners request, we've actually already addressed that. We agreed with the community partners that that money should not have been cut. And we are recommending restoring it to the FY25 levels. And then the one request that is under the Department of Health was community partners request in the substance use division. Requested was 420,000 in SF stands for special funds, not state funds. You might, just to be clear, it's special funds. In FY26, they were appropriated 800,000 from special funds. We heard all the testimony. The recovery center said this would best be done in this way, and they had different amounts for different members of the 12 recovery centers. Department decided, nope, we're just going to give everybody $50,000. So that left 6 centers, and they gave us specific information about which centers those were. They've also given that information to appropriations, by the way. 6 centers in serious financial risk. And so we recommended providing 210, which is half of what they asked, to the 6 identified recovery centers in the amounts recommended. Well, it would be proportional, in proportional amounts. In amounts recommended by Recovery Partners of Vermont, and that it be specifically stated in the BAA. And I'm saying that because if we don't say it specifically, then we risk the department doing again what it is that they did last time.
So, yeah, thanks for pointing out it's special funds, but that raises a question I didn't have before. Is that one of the settlement funds where we have a fixed amount, and so recommending this means that money gets taken away from something else in that special fund that we don't know. We're not making an informed recommendation if we don't know that that might mean it's going to short.
Yeah, this is not from the opioid abatement special fund. This is from the fee fund, fee, F-E-E, fund that pharmaceutical companies pay to the state, certain percentage of every pharmaceutical
Right.
paid for by Medicaid. And it's from that fund. So
But
Nolan is looking at this. And so he said he had some minor changes. I don't know if it was to this, but I will double check with him to make sure that I don't think, it would not be taking away from something else that is funded by that. But
Okay,
again,
that's all I was concerned about. If it was
Okay.
a fixed total for the year and therefore would be taking away, that I would want to know what that was. But if it is not fixed and this would just be more from this year's fund, that's
yeah,
continue to
that's the way
support
it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. So with all of those changes, well, we've actually already voted on each individual change. So, so this, this will have to go through editing again, because we've made some changes. For people sitting around the room and for members, it will be posted on our today's webpage. And Laura, I'm going to also ask it be posted over there on the left-hand side where we put sort of key documents that people frequently look for. Feel free to tune in at 3:15 or something like that. Oh, you'll be on the floor. I think that's when I'm going to be down in appropriations. So thank you all for taking the time and being very participatory in the discussion and for making sure that, we all understand what's here. Okay. All right. Thank you. We're going to move to H 545. No, yes, we are. Yes. Thank you.
You ever seen it?
We are going to,
I don't do it.
Katie, how long do you think it'll take to go through that? And I'm not sure what your schedule is. Can you tell me?
15 minutes.
Okay, so could I give people like a 9-minute break? Do you have till 10:45?
Sure, that works.
Okay, all right, so Laura, we'll go off. We're going to take a just